after the Brexit, and we have the impression that the Anglo-Saxon people want to have a new alliance between the Anglo-Saxon culture and people, and not take in consideration the other countries of the European countries, Germany, Italy, France, especially France, and Polish. I don't know what is the reason that, this is organized by this very nice group of young Poland people, but we don't know what is the interest that have to ask only for the English people consideration, not one French, not one Germany. Here, okay, yes, but nothing. Yes, but you understand perfectly the thing that I say. So, what is your impression about this new alliance? Because I think this new alliance is not so good for the question of climate change, not so good also for the question of COVID, not so good for a cooperation, a global cooperation for the other countries. So we speak about China, we speak about India, what is your consideration as a very important window that you have with your very important newspaper? Thank you.
Please, Edward.
Well, I would say that the fundamental problem, Europe doesn't do defense. Europe doesn't spend enough on defense, and what it does spend, it spends badly. And the result is that it's therefore dependent on American protection. And that's a very unequal relationship. And I think that even France, as one of the most serious military powers in Europe, has had a very humiliating lesson that it can't be a security power on its own in the Indo-Pacific region. It has to take second place to America, and the French are furious about that. They're very humiliated. And I'm sad about that. I would love to see a really strong Europe, which was able to defend itself and had full spectrum defense, whether it's defending against money laundering and terrorism at one end, or dealing with high-end cybersecurity at the other. But we don't have that. We have a collection of countries that are basically lazy, self-indulgent, naive, complacent about the threats we face, particularly that from China. And that creates a political imbalance. With regard to Britain, I would say that Britain's involvement in European security is increasing, and increasing quite substantially. I would point you in the direction of the Joint Expeditionary Force, which is a British-led military cooperation effort for the most vulnerable part of Europe, which is the northeastern region around the Baltic Sea. These are 3 EU countries which are too small to buy the weapons that they need to defend themselves and are in danger of all sorts of aggression from Russia. We also have Sweden and Finland, which are not members of NATO, but are also vulnerable to Russian mischief and meddling, and incidentally also to Chinese. And I would say that the Joint Expeditionary Force has been a remarkable British success story so far. And what I hear, although this hasn't been announced yet, is that there is a lot of work going on among the Nordic, Baltic, and Dutch members, together with the British, to create a political declaration underpinning the JEF, as it's known. And this will create, in effect, a kind of Nordic mini NATO with British backing. And I think that's a good thing. I think we are moving away from the era of very large security organizations, whether they're NATO or the EU, because their decision-making is too slow. If we have a serious problem in the Black Sea region or the Baltic region, by the time the North Atlantic Council has met and decided and authorized a response, it'll be too late. War works on Moscow time, and Moscow time ticks extremely quickly. We make our decisions on Brussels time, and Brussels time goes extremely slowly. So we are moving towards an era of coalitions of the threat-aware, coalitions of the capable, coalitions of the willing, and I see that as part of it, and I'm pleased that Britain's playing a role in that.
Thank you. Thank you, Edward. Now I think,
Jeff,
Can I raise a question?
you have a specific question, or can move to the general?
Just a specific
No,
question.
it's
Yeah,
very
for
important.
Edward.
It's very important.
Please.
Edward, we've corresponded maybe for 10 years and even met a long time ago. It's I want to navigate an important, but in principle, small addition, I guess. When you talk about this need to listen, there's an additional step after the trust is built, which is that the community, not just individuals, but community for pandemics, actually needs to be empowered to act itself. So the framing of listening and then going into the political sphere and the politicians acting on behalf of the public is missing this other loop, which is that the public is actually the actor in the context of a pandemic. I want to point that out and ask you how to frame that in the context of this political view.
Thank you.
Very briefly, because I know we're out of time, I kind of agree with that. I think one has to be respectful of the abilities and energies of the people you're dealing with. And sometimes I come across someone and who perhaps doesn't have access to a computer or doesn't have the ability to draft a letter. And my job is to write a letter on that person's behalf to a decision maker saying, this is so-and-so or Mr. So-and-so, this problem, please fix it. And I will include that person in the loop as much as I can, but not everybody wants to be part of a campaigning active community. My preference is always to get people to do things for themselves. So I say, get together, do some research, do a petition. I want people to feel they've got a stake in the process. But one of the things about a democracy is you have the privilege as a citizen of democracy of not always being in the driver's seat. You can sometimes choose to be in the passenger seat. This is not North Korea, where we expect everybody to go out and chant slogans on behalf of the greater cause. We allow people to be passive if they want.
Thank you. Jeff, you want to raise now?
I just wanted to ask a question about what do you see as this China threat? Because I know that Britain invaded China, but I wasn't aware that China invaded Britain. So I did want to know, what is this threat actually? I don't get it.
Well, I'll give you, I think that the big threat at the moment from China is to the integrity of our political discourse, to our academia, to our media, to our publishing. I'll give you one small example. There was a book published in Germany that the Chinese Communist Party didn't like. They said to the publishers, if you do not change the sentence in this book that we don't like, not only the pressure was extraordinary on this publisher. They were told that not only will you never publish another book in China, you'll never print another book in China. Sorry, you'll never print another book in China. And not only that, every one of your authors will be banned in China. We see this with Hollywood as well. Richard Gere hasn't made a film for years because of his pro-Tibetan views. We see this in academia, where China puts pressure on academics and says, if you do this, you'll never get another visa. And they say to universities, if you pursue this course of study, don't expect to get any Chinese students in future. My own university, LSE, came under extraordinary Chinese pressure simply because they had a public sculpture in which the island of Taiwan was depicted in a different color from mainland China, and they got the full court press.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can I just say very briefly, I don't have a policy on China, but we have to protect the integrity of our own discourse. Otherwise, we will not be able to create a policy.
Thank you. Thank you. But now.